Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You're listening to episode number 172. I'm Victoria Gallagher, Law of Attraction hypnotist and #1 bestselling author of Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. And I'm also the founder of hiptalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores today. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Kadidja Yansane, a speaker, coach, and consultant for nearly 2 decades. Kadidja received her BA in Women's Studies at UC Berkeley. She's been passionate and dedicated her life to work to supporting women to recognize their brilliance and deliver their unique contributions. She's worked with dozens of companies like Visa, Charles Schwab, Clorox, Robert Half, College of Alameda, and Fem Talks, to name a few. She has led and organized hundreds of women's groups, programs, seminars, and classes to support women in owning their value, changing their worth, and doing what they love. And her signature program is the Client Creation Program, an 8 weeks to mastering the art of getting clients. And additionally, Kadidja has created hundreds of online videos on the topic of women's business, empowerment, and leadership, with tens of thousands of views on YouTube and Facebook. And she can be found on Facebook /Bloom Into You or her website, bloomintoyou.com. And today, Kadidja is going to be sharing some of her insights on the 4 keys to manifesting clients. And so welcome to the show, Kadidja.
Thank you so much for having me, Victoria. I love the sound of your voice. It's so soothing and hypnotic. I have
Thank
to
you. Well, I
download
guess
that app. I'm going to do it today.
awesome. I guess I picked the right business. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And so I'm really interested and intrigued to find out more about how you help people to manifest their ideal client, because I think so many of our listeners here on Power of Your Mind podcast are
Mhm.
coaches, hypnotherapists, entrepreneurs from all different walks of life, probably primarily women. And it's always hard to exactly know your demographic, but people keep listening to the show. And I know the people that are listening to the show to tend to be in that realm where they need to attract more clients. And can we all use more clients in our business? So
Absolutely.
I am really excited to get your way of manifesting clients. So let's just take a little step back before we get started into all that. And if you could just share a little bit of your journey on how you got started in this field and as a coach.
Yes. Well, I would have never imagined that I would have become a business coach. I often share that, my parents are immigrants from West Africa. My dad is a retired economics professor. And when I was in college at UC Berkeley, and I didn't know what my major was going to be, my dad would say, a girl like you should major in business. And I was just like, again, another thing. I'm like, my dad doesn't get me. He doesn't understand who I am. And now, at 45, I really understand. Like, he thought that I had a great personality and that I was a people person and that I would do well in business, but I had a completely different vision of what I thought business would be like. I felt like a more sensitive and creative person, and I actually wanted to be a therapist. And then I was looking at schools, looking at master's programs, and I found out about coaching, and I just felt that immediate yes. And I loved my coaching program. I learned the great skills to be a good coach, great listening skills, how to ask great questions, how to move your client further along on their journey. but I didn't really leave knowing how to get clients. We may have had maybe one business course that I remember enjoying, but I still didn't know what to do. And I went on and did other things. I was a high school counselor for a while. I was a body worker, but in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be a coach. And at the time, I was calling myself a life coach, and I dreaded the whole "what do you do" statement, going to parties. I remember living in LA at the time, and people be like, "So what do you do?" And I'd be like, "I'm a life coach." And I'd be like, either they were like, "Cool, what's that?" Or they were like, "Okay." And so I just didn't even know how to put it out there and let people know what I was doing. And eventually I decided, I felt drawn, I followed my heart, I felt drawn to start a women's group. And I've been in women's groups since college, since I was 18 years old. And I've always been a part of them. And as I was participating, I always saw myself leading them at some point. And so I started leading regular women's groups. And then I was ready at that point to start making offers. It felt awkward. I was nervous. I felt really comfortable leading the group, but at the end saying, this is how you can work with me, I just felt like I would shrink a little bit. Somehow I still ended up getting clients, and several clients. At this point, I started taking online business courses, and one of my coaches at the time was saying, "I think you should find a niche." And maybe 5 clients in a row asked me if I could help them get paying clients. And so I was like, okay, well, if 5 people have asked me and I don't see why not, I think I can help you with that. And that's how I became a business coach. So it was nothing I set out to do. And even initially, Victoria, it was difficult for me to own and say that I was a business coach, because I thought a business coach, maybe they wore a suit, maybe they were more corporate, or I don't know what it was that I thought, but I didn't think that I fit that bill. But that's how it came. And that's actually how I developed my group program, which was initially called the Client Creation Program. Now it's called the Client Creation Queen Program. But it's because most of my clients were saying, like, "Can you help me get clients?" Or "How do I get clients?" And so that's how my program was born. And the way I see that it fits into like law of attraction, like creation, creativity is one of my favorite words. I use the word creation because as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, we're creating something out of, thin air. Like, it wasn't there until we had the idea, until like you had the idea for this podcast and you made it manifest. And so I look at creating clients in the same way, is that if you, rather than say, "How can I get clients?" like, "How can I create clients?" Like, what can I do? Whether it's start a podcast, whether it's lead a workshop, whether it's create content to kind of be a lighthouse so that your clients can find you, whether it's speaking. But it's really important that you do the thing that feels aligned with your values. So maybe you're a writer, maybe you're a speaker, because oftentimes I see in my community, people get stuck on, "I see other people doing this, I should do that too," thinking that it's going to work for them, rather than moving in the direction that you feel called. And that's when opportunities open up for you. I was literally teaching a class yesterday, and I was saying how in the last couple of months, one of the things I said to myself internally was like, wow, I do get natural speaking gigs, but I was like, wow, if I put more effort, maybe I would get even more. And so just even me deciding that that's what I wanted without even taking the actions yet, although, I've taken some actions, I started getting invitations in my email box. And so one thing is just really like, check in with your desire. Who do you want to serve? What do you want to help them with? And how most would you like to make yourself visible in the eyes of your ideal client?
I love that. I love everything that you just shared, and I can relate to so much of what you're talking about. I mean, all the way from starting with your father telling you that he thought you should go to business school and feeling like he didn't really know. I mean, I sort of followed in my father's footsteps to become a stockbroker. And when I did that, he said, you'll probably do this for about 5 years and then you'll do something else. And then lo and behold, about 6 years, maybe he hypnotically programmed me and didn't realize what he was doing at the time. But lo and behold, about 6 years later is when I got burnt out on that career and became a hypnotherapist. And I love it too that you mentioned that, that you kind of had that dread at parties of like, being sharing what you do. And it's kind of also interesting too when you're a hypnotherapist, because a lot of the biggest question that people ask me
Yeah.
as a hypnotherapist, because they're so used to the whole like on stage thing and they've seen what happens there, they'll be the first thing that out of most people's mouths, and they don't realize, they know not what they do. Does that really work? It's like,
Yeah.
no, I've just been doing this for 20 years and no, it doesn't work. Sorry. Right? And it's like, forgive them. They know not what they're saying to me at that moment. But, and then, about how this, I mean, everything ultimately is that intention, law of attraction. It all starts with that intention, and manifesting clients is no different. You have to,
Absolutely.
and I think too, where, so many people, they're afraid to have a niche, right?
Mhm.
Because when you declare these are the people that I'm going to help,
Yeah.
ultimately when you declare that they actually, you draw more of them in.
It's so true. And I get that a lot too in my community. I felt that way myself. Like when my coach told me I should pick a niche, I really thought, that's not what really I was taught in my program as a life coach. I'm like, okay, we just need to coach someone through an issue. So it could be any issue, right? So I literally thought that I could help all kinds of people, which it doesn't mean that you can't. Just as like a hypnotherapist, you can help so many types of people with so many different things. And I just want to share a quick story with you that I have a daughter who's 5. She's 7, my son's 5. But when I was pregnant with my first, I broke out in hives and I tried so many things, Victoria, so acupuncture, all kinds of baths, aloe vera. And I went to a hypnotherapist and she made a meditation for me. And because I was scratching at night, it was so bad. And so that was like the only thing that helped. Like I could visualize myself, cooling down. I would get into the water. So I was thinking about you as I was coming into our interview, and I was like, wow, that hypnobirthing. Well, and for the I'm forgetting the name of the rash, the hives really helped a lot. And I had a very, very short delivery. So side note, I wanted to share.
Yes, it is so powerful. Thank
It's
you
so
for sharing
powerful.
that. Yeah, I've had people, I mean, like, and I kind of niche myself now, so I don't deal with too many physical types of issues, but I used to.
Yeah.
And I mean, pain, headaches, itching, like people would actually come. I had, an itching situation and I had to kind of make a little meditation for myself. So, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, it's interesting. I'm trained as a doula. I don't do that work anymore, but one of the most powerful things I saw, which I think really helped me in birthing, was I saw some hypnobirths, some videos of hypnobirths, and it was just like, oh my God, like when your mind opens to what's possible, it is just incredible. And I mean, I was listening to you as you were introducing the show and you were saying the power of your mind. So like one of the things I talk about when we talk about manifesting clients is something that a lot of coaches talk about, but it's because it's crucial. It's mindset and the power of the mind. And like, what are you saying to yourself as it relates to getting clients? Do you say things like, oh, there are already so many coaches out there, so many yoga teachers out there, or my audience wouldn't pay for that, or what can I say that hasn't already been said or done before? And so like, if that's in the background, you're not going to feel confident to do an interview, to show up for your community, to share your content. So it's really essential that you literally have a practice, whether it's on a daily basis or consistent basis, so that you can work through those fearful thoughts, whether it's EFT or a hypnosis or inquiry. Like, I'm a huge fan of the work of Byron Katie. And so it's like sometimes we just say things that aren't even true, but then we're relating to it as if it's the truth. It's like, see, I post and no one likes or comments. And then it's like, well, is that actually true? Is it actually true that no one has liked? Wow, I'm looking at your page right now. You're getting so many likes and comments. Like, literally, sometimes people just need someone else to see that people are engaging with them, for them to look at their stuff with fresh eyes. So mindset is something that we want to cultivate on a consistent basis. And it doesn't mean that you have to lie to yourself, but you could say, I had one for myself that was like, oh, I'm not good at technology. And I could change that to be like, I'm willing to learn the things that I don't know. I'm willing to have someone teach me. I can start small. Like, there's so many things that we say to ourselves that don't support the goal that we are trying to achieve. And I know today we're talking about clients. So having that clear vision of how many clients do you actually want to see on a monthly basis? How many clients do you actually have capacity for? Sometimes people find that their schedule is so full, but they say they want 10 clients. It's like, well, if 10 clients came today, would you have space to put them on the calendar?
Ooh,
And
that's
so
so
really,
true.
so really getting clear of like, how much money do you want to make? How many clients do you want to have? And, even switching the question from, why would they work with me when they could work with this other person who's written this many books? Like, really ask yourself, why am I uniquely qualified? Why are you uniquely qualified to serve the clients that you are destined to serve?
Would you say that that is like probably one of the hardest things people have is figuring out what sets them aside and what makes them unique? I know even for myself, sometimes because there's a lot of hypnotherapists out there, there's a lot of websites that sell hypnotherapy downloads, there's a lot of apps that, and so like occasionally I've had the situation where I've just like, well, I'm just like anybody else. Like I have apps just like, but like I've been able to define it, I guess, for myself as like, well, nobody has my unique voice.
Mhm.
And you did mention that at the very beginning. So that was just, I'm just kind of going through that process of, with you, like, so nobody has my unique voice, nobody has my unique way of script writing, and nobody has as large of a catalog. I mean, most people don't have as large of a catalog or been doing this for 22 years. So would you say that like those are the kinds of things that you would ask your clients to figure out, like, what is it that really sets you apart?
Yeah. I think that sometimes it can be hard to ask yourself that. Sometimes you do things that are so natural to you that you take for granted. And I think
Mhm.
to a degree, all of us do this. And that's sometimes you're so close to your differentiator that's one of the reasons that it can be incredibly invaluable to have a coach. Sometimes I ask
Yeah.
clients to ask their friends, like what, because usually there are certain themes that people say about you across the board. And so like if you ask your friends or the people in your life. So let's say for me, warmth is a word that comes up a lot. So it's
Mhm.
like, I think that we're all broadcasting something, right? And sometimes we might not be aware of what we're broadcasting because we're just being ourselves. But sometimes having that reflection from colleagues, from friends can support you. And it's not so much that you have to be completely different from other people in order for people to want to work with you. I think it's an energy thing, right? So it's like
Mhm.
we're watching people online, we connect to something about them, or something about them is aspirational. Maybe we like their voice, maybe they are a mom, maybe they have pets, maybe they're really interested in the law of attraction, and so maybe another hypnotherapist isn't, you know. So it's like it's I feel like it's almost like dating. Do you know what I mean? That
Yeah.
sometimes you can't even really articulate why you are drawn to a person. But what's cool about that is that it gives you permission to just be you. So oftentimes I'll tell my clients, like, they're like, oh, well, you know, I was actually Zooming with a client, and she's a yoga teacher, and she's always like, she's making a smoothie. And I was telling her, I was like, oh my God, I could totally see you on YouTube doing that. And for her, it's just her being herself making a smoothie. But for me, it's like, as her coach, but also like thinking of marketing, that, you know, she's exemplifying that wellness lifestyle. Like, this is how she lives. You know, she's got the dim light, she's drinking her green drink. And someone who's aspiring to that, like, they're like, wow, I would love to make easy, healthy meals. I'd like to incorporate more plant-based things into my lifestyle and for my children. And they're seeing that, and that's inspirational. So like, if you just look at your life, like kind of do an audit of what are the things that you like to do, you can incorporate that into your marketing. And believe it or not, that's a snapshot of your life. And people are drawn to that, you know. So it's like, when I saw the name of your podcast, I'm like, oh my God, you know, I love that. You know,
And that just came so,
yeah.
like, to me, like that when I came up with the name Power of Your Mind, I'm like, that's such a cliche like word, like everybody says that, right? You know, but it just, you know, seems to have captured a lot of attention. And you know, another thing, just as you were mentioning that unique thing that just seems to come so natural, like one of the things that just really comes natural for me is just having ultra clarity on exactly what I am working on. Now, sometimes I have ultra clarity on way too many things, and
Yeah.
you can get focused and dilute the focus on too many things. But that's just something that really comes natural. And I noticed myself yesterday when I was running a clubhouse room that a lot of people really have hard time articulating and getting very, very clear on their you know, what it is that they're creating, and they're not able to see it or hear it or picture it or smell it or taste it and get their whole senses involved in that. Like, people are really having a hard time with that. And so, like, so it's interesting because you take these skills that you have, like, I'm just validating what you're saying, like, you take some of these skills that you have that just come so natural to you for granted.
Yes. And it's just interesting, just even like your messaging, like the power of the mind, or practical law of attraction. It's so, sometimes I think it, in an effort to be different, sometimes people overcomplicate their message, and it gets lost in translation, and people don't understand it. And it's like, I know sometimes people will say in marketing, like, well, can a 6-year-old understand it? I think that's too young, but, you know, like, can a teenager or, you know, a young college student understand the work that you do? And sometimes we're so close to it, and we've been studying it for a really long time, and we just assume. So like, there's that curse of knowledge that everyone knows. But it's really important to simplify your message, and you can bring all of who you are, your tools, your resources into your program when you're actually working with your clients.
Cool. So tell us, like, what do you see as a coach is the biggest challenge that your clients face to when attracting clients?
Yes. So I'll talk about the strategy pieces, but then I'll also talk about from the emotional side, right? So for the
Mhm.
emotional side, I would say, you know, their mindset, like how they're feeling about themselves. So like, the base level is some version of I'm not enough or I'm not good enough. And then so they're caring about what other people think. So that shows up as being afraid to really share who you are and what you do, whether it's on social media or in person. So just, you know, the fear of visibility. A lot of people say they worry about imposter syndrome, but then when you dig a little further, it's like, it's just the truth that you worked at this company. It's just the truth that you went through this certification program. And so sometimes clients share with me, even just sharing the success that their clients are having can feel like bragging. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of clients like hold themselves back because they don't want to feel like they're showing off or they're bragging or talking about their business too much. So I would say like that's like on the emotional, mental visibility side. And so on the, marketing and sales side, so I think I would connect the visibility and marketing, because marketing is showing up and sharing what you do. And so one aspect of that is like brand visibility. But then the other aspect is actually promoting your offers. So whether it's promoting your free lead magnet, whether it's promoting a discovery call, whether it's promoting a paid offer, oftentimes people don't promote enough, and like they just can make this assumption that they're bothering people by talking about their business too much, when in fact we're just inundated with so many messages a day. I heard something recently that said that we see like 200,000 words a day.
Oh, wow.
It was a crazy number like that, 200 or 300,000 a day. And so if people are just scrolling through their feed, they might not see it, and it takes several touch points for it to actually register. I often hear, this fear, because the women that I work with identify as being a soul-centered, heart-centered, women, and that it can feel disjointed selling and being of service. Whereas, like that it's either or, whereas in coaching, we talk about, and, I think we're moving into a time and space where it's like, you can make money and be of service. It doesn't have to be either or. So I definitely see that, that's a huge challenge. And that shows up whether you're just starting out, or whether you're wanting to increase your prices, or, feeling bad about, having money goals, and while at the same time wanting to be abundant. Isn't that the irony, Victoria?
I know. It's absolutely crazy. And it is ironic. And I have even found myself in that place where, like, sending out am I sending out too many emails when you're marketing for a particular event or a particular project that you're working on, and it's like, oh, I don't want them to think, that I'm being too spammy or promoty or whatever. And so I think, I think you're right. People do, it's almost like selling and marketing, just, it seems like a dirty word, and that's something
Oh,
you shouldn't have to
absolutely.
do. Like,
Absolutely. And you know what? I think that it's a thoughtful question. Do you know, like, I feel like people do want to be respectful of people's inboxes. And like most people, I know I don't open every single email that I receive.
Mhm.
I do not. And I'm imagine if you're watching this, you don't open every single email that you receive. Like you can also, like, let's say you're doing an email campaign, you can let your audience or your list know that, hey, you're going to be, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be talking a lot about this. So, you can let them know that you're going to be talking about this. I don't think that you want to be, promoting all the time. There's an ebb and flow to things. When you're launching something, yes, you're probably going to be marketing and promoting more. And one way to like facilitate that, if that's something that you're worried about, next week, I'm really excited to share about my upcoming program. And it's okay if there a no to it. Do you know what I mean? You can still
Mhm.
offer value in your posts with a call to action. And
Yeah.
that's when it doesn't feel, it actually, I find that, people, coaches, healers, guides, they really want to give and be of value. And so if you lead with value first, and then your call to action, leaving value with the people who aren't going to invest further with you. And that feels like a win-win. It feels like
Ooh, I
a win
love
to you.
that.
It feels like a
Yes.
win to you, and it feels like a win to them. So it's like you've given them 3 or 4 tips, And PS, by the way, if you want to go deeper, this is how you can do it. And so it's like everybody gets something, whether you're paying or you're not.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, too, it's like if this is your business, you're in business to earn, because otherwise it would just be a hobby. So I feel like there's also this thing about making peace with sales and being, which I think can be scary for a lot of women, just like stepping inside of your leadership and saying like, this is how much it costs. This is the value, which is probably more than what they're paying. Because I know you put a lot of value in your programs that probably outweigh the cost. And that's some big growth there. We've actually set it up. Law of attraction, we've set it up so that we can work through these outdated beliefs around money and sales and marketing.
I love it. Yeah. And I've heard that using like an 80-20 rule when it comes to your marketing and promotion, where you give 80% value content and 20% promotion, I guess. And that could be within the single email itself. If you're giving like, here's my top 10 tips for how you can blah, blah, blah. And by the way, you can learn more about this at my upcoming event. Boom.
Yeah.
And so that's a way that, the people you've left people touched, moved, and inspired by your content, and you've moved those people, but then you're also speaking to the people about what it is that can really take them to the next level. And I love what you said about the value, because I've heard a lot of people have a hard time articulating the value of something. And the value is so much different than the price. I mean, the value is like, if you learn a strategy during your coaching relationship, or if you learn a strategy during this event that causes you to now attract 10,000 more dollars into your revenue stream in a year, that's value.
Yeah.
That's the value right there.
It so is. And so one of the things that's really important, which I think a lot of people underestimate, are like, what's the benefit of your program to your potential clients? Like literally write down, as a result of working or going through this program, or as a result of this weekend, as a result of this, private coaching, these are the tangible things that you're going to walk away with. And it can help to start those benefits with verbs, like you're going to increase your confidence, you're going to multiply your income by this percent, you're going to, I don't know, lose 20 pounds. I'm just making up examples for things that you can begin to look at your own niche with and really sit down and ask yourself, wow, if, repair a broken marriage, like what's the value of repairing your broken marriage? What's the value of a smoother morning routine for your kids, right? It's like, wow, that is really powerful. And then have examples to back it up. So whether that's case studies of previous clients, how it's worked in your own life, really helping people see and feel the value of making that investment. It has them feel more confident in making the investment, and it has you feel more confident in selling it. It's just like, wow, if you could repair your broken marriage, what does that now, like you're enjoying being at home with your partner, your family is much happier, you guys are spending intimate time together, your kids feel confident and at school and building stronger relationships, like knowing the impact of that and really getting clear. Another thing that's really helpful is sometimes I'll have my clients like reread their testimonials, because sometimes it's something they can take for granted. It's like, wow, did you really take in what your clients said about you as a result of working with you? These are all ways to feel more confident about the value that you provide as a coach or a service-based business provider. And you're going to feel more confident entering into sales calls and sharing the powerful work that you do, because you know that it has the power to help your clients get the results that they're seeking.
I love that strategy, that technique of having them read through all their testimonials, because that's something I think, I don't know about you, but occasionally, I mean, you probably get like, there's 1 out of 100 that are the not so nice ones, but for some reason, those will just knock you off of your game.
Yes.
And why is it that it's so much easier sometimes to like focus on that one-star review or whatever when you've got like 100 5-star reviews to
I know. And you just
offset?
ignore the 100-star reviews. It's like, you're highlighting the one. It's just like, okay, maybe there's something that you can learn from that. Maybe
Mhm.
this person, maybe that's how they are and how they show up in every area of their life. And if there's anything of value that you feel like you could have done better, you can incorporate moving forward. But I see a lot of people take their results for granted, or the success that they've already created for granted, because they're so ready to move on to the next thing. And then what that has, it just you feel dissatisfied because you're not acknowledging, okay, what did I do this week? This client got this result, or I booked a speaking gig, or I did this other thing. And it's like you're telling yourself, you're telling your mind that, wow, we're making progress here. This is even just looking like where you are this year compared to where you were last year. And then sometimes because you're not where you want to be, you forget everything that you've done in the last 12 months. So please don't do that.
I
Take
had
your
to I
time.
had to do that like literally in the last few days for myself,
Yeah,
because I have huge lofty goals. I'm kind of overachiever, and so I'm maybe 10% of the way to where I want to be by the end of 2021, but it's a huge leap where
yeah.
I want to go. But I had to like literally look back at where I was in January of 2021, and it's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Like you need to seriously take a look at how powerful you are.
yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that is pretty impressive when you consider where I was,
Mm,
even though where I am right now is nowhere close to where I'm going.
yes.
I can see glimpses of hope of that happening. And so
Yeah.
it is, you have to, and law of attraction is going to be more attracted to what you focus on. So if you're focusing on what you've done, you're going to attract more of what you've done, and whether that's bad or good.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because this is where you want to be, this is where you are, and you're like, oh my God, I still have this far to go. And because you have this far to go, then it can be easy to dismiss or forget. But then when you take the time, do you use that law of attraction planner? Have you ever used that one? I wonder if
I
it's
have
rose
one. Is it the
gold.
one by Freedom Mastery?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I got that as a gift for Christmas.
Yeah, I know what
And
that's like.
yeah. And it's sitting there. I started filling it out, but I haven't quite been using it. And I kind of got it because eventually I see myself having my own type of planner. So it was like kind of
Oh, cool.
collecting a few little ideas on like what that might end up looking like. But anyway, yes, I have one.
Well, I only brought it up just because, I mean, you probably do this anyway without the planner, but one of the things that I like about the planner is at the end of the month, they have you fill out your top 10 achievements from the
Mm.
previous 30 days. And, you know, when I start writing, it'll maybe the first 5 will come really easy, but then I have to scroll through my calendar to look for the other things. And I'm like, I forgot about that. I forgot about that. I forgot about that. And going back and say, hey, what do I want to acknowledge and appreciate, myself for? What do I want to give thanks that I've done? And it just, when I'm done writing that list, and I'm excited because it's the end of the month, of just going back and like, what did we create in the month of June? It's I feel like there's an opening. I had a teacher that would say acknowledged ish. No, acknowledge, basically she was saying acknowledged stuff, unacknowledged stuff turns to ish. So like when you don't acknowledge what you've created or what has happened, it turns to poop, right? So
Oh, okay. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
and it's so true because it's like you forget and you're on to the next thing. So having it on a regular basis, like, okay, I got this many clients this month. I did this many marketing activities to bring in more clients. Maybe you did some success interviews. So just acknowledging all the progress you're making actually has you feel like you're making progress. Otherwise, you can miss that you're actually making progress.
Yes. So that's such a great point. Well, listen, this is like we have such a great rapport that sometimes it's hard to stay on point. And I want to kind of get a little bit more on point here to highlight a little bit of how how you work with people. Namely, one of the things that that you talk about is your 4 M's to manifesting clients. So
Yeah.
can you get enlighten us a little bit on your 4 M's?
So we talked about the first one, which is mindset, that you want to be consistently nurturing what I call a queen's mindset that has you feel like you can take inspired, empowered action, and that whatever self-doubt is coming in the way, you feel like you can show up for and meet. So mindset is the first one. The second one is manifesting. So you want to be really clear on what it is that you want to manifest as it relates to clients. How many clients do you want to be enrolling a month? How much money do you want to be making? And once you're clear on that, what are you actually going to do to do that? So you want your words, your speech, your actions to match up. And on one level, that sounds really common sense. Like, well, okay, I said I wanted that. But so often, like how often do we say we want something, but then we're not taking any action to make that happen? And one of the things that's the toughest part when it comes to manifesting what we want is that we want to work wholeheartedly and move towards our goals, but we also want to release and surrender the outcome. And that doesn't mean that you don't care, and it doesn't mean that you give up, but you do what's yours to do, and let the universe, the magic, do its job. So the second key is to intentionally manifest our vision, have a clear goal, write it down. You can speak it out loud, you can write it down. You want to make sure that your words, thoughts, and actions are in alignment with that. You want to work wholeheartedly towards the achievement of that end, but then you also want to practice surrender, which is the hardest part because you're like, where's the money? Where's the house? Where's the soulmate?
Yes.
You have to have faith and trust that it's coming. So our third M is marketing. And so if you don't like
I
the
had a
word
feeling that was going to be one of the M's.
marketing, we have to market our services. And marketing, I often come across people who say that they hate marketing or they don't like marketing or they're not good at it. But marketing is simply sharing what we're doing, what we're up to. And what has marketing feel authentic is doing what feels authentic for you. So how do you want to spread the message? How do you want to spread your brand message? Are you a writer? Are you a speaker? Or do you want to have a YouTube channel? How do you want to get the word out about what you do? And one of the things that can help us in communicating our message is by speaking with the people in our community. So like I shared earlier that I became a coach because that's what the people in my community, they were a business coach. They were saying they needed help with getting clients. And so we always want to be listening for the concerns of our ideal client. And we find that out on our discovery calls, in Facebook groups, doing surveys, and really speaking the language of your ideal client. Because if you're just saying what's important for you and not what's important for them, they're going to be like, I'm not so sure that you can help me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you
need to be relatable.
And so like, let's say someone wants to lose weight, but you as a health coach feel like, I don't want to, say lose weight because I don't want to promise them anything. I just want to help them eat better and feel better. And then the ideal client's like, I want to lose weight. So
Mm-hmm.
if that might not, even though you know that eating better and being healthier with their choices can help them achieve that, it might not meet their urgent need where they feel the desire to invest in that. So you always want to be listening for and using the words of your ideal client. And that has them say like, wow, I've had clients say, I feel like you're reading my mind. And that's because you're deeply listening to the needs of your audience. And so I literally say, a lot of my clients share with me that they're afraid to share on their personal page, or they're worried about being salesy or pushy because I heard them say it themselves, right? So you want to be constantly listening for what you hear the people in your community say, and you can use that in your messaging and your copy, in your marketing.
I think what you're saying there is so key, and it's probably, to me, when it comes to that marketing aspect, I think it's probably the biggest missed opportunity and the biggest misstep that people have, and they don't really know how to get into the mind of their niche, or even see the value sometimes in niching and calling themselves the specific problem solver, that problem, because they're afraid they're cutting out a certain audience. Well, if you can just get into the mind of that person, you're going to attract the right people because you're speaking their language. And the more, so
Absolutely.
what you're saying is so key.
I'm glad. And even though I use the word coach a lot in my marketing, but I've worked with realtors, I've worked with lawyers, I've worked with acupuncturists. And so for those of you that feel nervous about saying, okay, I'm only working in this niche, it's your business. You can work with whomever you want. And if people connect with you that are not, let's say you use the word mom and the person's not a mom, they might still ask you, like, can I work with you? And you have the choice to say yes or no. So that just because you niche down doesn't mean that you have to turn away someone that wants to work with you if you feel like you could help them and you would like to.
Exactly. What's the fourth M?
The fourth M is monetization, is that we have to monetize. How do you monetize your skills and gifts? And so in a quick nutshell, you want to have a very clear need, which is what we're talking about. Who you help, what you help them with. And I typically recommend hosting something. So it could be a podcast, it could be a Facebook Live. I've hosted summits. It could be an interview series. There's a lot of energy that gets created. It could be a workshop or a speaking engagement. But a lot of energy gets created when you host something. But if you're the type of person who's like, I don't see myself hosting, you can speak on other people's platforms, and you can also create content that's niche specific that positions you as an expert. And what's really important here is that you want to have a call to action to a discovery call or a consultation, so that you can find out if working with someone is a fit. And a key piece of that is having a clear, like, asking for the sale. And a lot of times people will get on a call, but they won't ask for the business and say, would you like to continue working together? Would you like to continue working together? Would you like my help with this? Are you ready to get started? And of course, you wouldn't do that if you didn't feel like it wasn't a fit. But I was sharing a story recently that I bought a necklace. It wasn't this necklace on Instagram. I saw the picture. I told the woman, I messaged her. I was like, oh, that's such a beautiful necklace. I wasn't thinking that I was going to buy it, but she asked me if I wanted to buy it. And then I said, well, actually, I think I do. And the point is she asked for the sale. And if she didn't ask for the sale, that would have been a missed opportunity because I might not have asked her how much it cost. So you definitely want to ask for the sale. And if they're a yes, that means you have a client. And so whatever you do, whether it's hosting an event, whether it's content creation, you want to have that call to action to book a call with you. If that's what I teach in my Client Creation Queen program, the consultation part, but it works for private coaching. It also works for group programs. It's not the only way, but that's what I do in terms of my program. And so monetize your offer, whatever it is, it's a product. You have to ask for the sale Where's the
You
link?
do. I
Even if,
can't remember what it was yesterday. It may have even been my husband, because even you have to ask for the sale even in your relationships, right?
yeah,
And it was the question. I can't remember who it was. I just remember the words that came out of my mouth. I was like, well, I wasn't going to do that, but since you asked,
yes,
you
since
know,
that's right.
and yeah, honestly, I don't remember what it was, but I literally said those words. I wasn't going to do that, but since you asked, then I will.
Mm,
And so it's super important. And so speaking of which, you have a call to action
yeah.
that you'd like to, take our listeners through. So why don't we talk a little bit about, your free gift that you are offering here today?
Yes, I have a free gift. It's called The Ultimate Guide to Client Creation. And in it, I go over these 4 M's in great depth. And there are questions that you can fill out and things that you can do. I actually walk you through the 9-step client creation process. I only touched on a few here, but it's a great resource for you in terms of things that you can do to fortify your mindset. I go over the 4 steps to manifesting powerfully and how to speak the language of your ideal client in your marketing so that they raise their hand to want to take the next step with you. So you
Well,
can download that.
I am personally going to download that because I love everything that you just said. It sounds amazing. And I think you wet our whistle and that you gave so much value today. You really did. And it was just, you're so well articulated in this business. And you're just, you're the type of person that I definitely think that, can really, really help bring out the best in your clients. You really have just a way of saying things that I think is going to help a lot of people. And just everything that you say, about your manifestclientsnow.com guide that they can get. So that's the ultimate guide to client creation
Yes.
that's available at manifestclientsnow.com/guide. I love that. That is a great, great website. Manifestclientsnow/guide or .com/guide. And I'll have that in the show notes as well.
Thank
So they
you.
can just click right through and get that. I'm going to get a copy of that. So if you're listening to this and you want to manifest clients now, then go get your guide and you can learn a little bit more about how to do that. So thank you so much for
Thank you,
everything that you
Victoria.
offered here on the Power of Your Mind podcast. It's been a delightful conversation. And any last final words that can just kind of help people who are not doing what they're doing to get on track to manifesting?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Victoria, for having me. I so enjoyed talking with you and connecting with you. And for those of you that are listening, I want you to remember that you are a creator, you are a creatrix, and connect with your desire. What is it that you want? Ask yourself these self-coaching questions. If I could have it any way that I wanted, what would I choose? If life was just supporting me, what would I choose? Write those things down and begin to start taking action on it wholeheartedly, and get support if you are in a place of fear or doubt. Get support. You don't have to do it alone. And remember some things that you've already created in the past that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I created that. I manifested that. And the next things you shall manifest as well.
Awesome. That's wonderful, incredible advice. Thank you so much for being a great guest here on the Power of Your Mind podcast. And thank you, listeners. And yeah, go ahead and get your guide to client creation, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone. Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you.